is what led to the overall aggregate jump in the tax assessments. Now, we're going to come down into whether or not you all feel those are quality or not. I know that's a subject of debate, but just hold on with me for just a little bit. I want to give you some stats on this. Our overall value, roughly value increase is about 13%. Now, while that was in line with a number of other neighboring counties, Gwinnett and Cobb, the revaluation which took place has resulted in a less than uniform degree of increases. Many of you are experiencing increases well above that 13% mark. Am I right? All right. All right. In fact, the rough distribution is 39% were under 13%, 11% were 13 to 20%, 14% were 20 to 30%, 14% 30 to 50%, 8% 50 to 75%, and 14% over 75%. So those are pretty staggering numbers. We all get it and we all understand it, okay? And I know that these are individual horror stories that have you rightly alarmed and concerned and angry. I get it. The increases, we have a lot of North Fulton that's certainly been impacted, but this is a countywide impact. I've been talking with a lot of folks in the city of Atlanta, and they are up in arms. Places like Grant Park, Inman Park, different areas at Summerhill. I mean, there's a host of different areas in the city of Atlanta, Ansley Park, where folks are seeing just the same kind of sticker shock that we are facing here in North Fulton, okay? So this is not just a North Fulton issue. This is an issue that we are facing countywide, and many people are up in arms about. South Fulton as well. There are pockets of very large outsized increases throughout the county. It's not an isolated part that we can sort of point to. When we look at heat maps, there are big, over 50% increases throughout the county. So local officials throughout the county are sharing the same sense of frustration and anger. All for individual governments, Fulton County, the school, city, or otherwise. And I want to kind of take you through that. And the short answer to that is most likely it will not be. And I want to walk you through why, okay? And I'll use Fulton County first as an example. We set our budget at the beginning of the year, and we've been operating, throughout the course of this year under that budget. The revenue assumption that we made when we adopted our budget is that we would not be receiving any new revenues from reassessment growth, okay? So stay with me for a little bit on this. Now, we get the tax digest to us, and we go through our finance folks and that sort of stuff, and they identify, if you continued at the millage rate that you were at, these would be the amount of funds that you would receive as associated with growth from reassessments. We then, as a Board of Commissioners, have to make the decision, are we going to pass along a tax increase to you, or are we going to roll back our millage rate? The way that our budget is constructed, we have anticipated that we would roll back the millage rate. In the past 2 years, for Fulton County government specifically, I recognize it's only about 25% or so of your tax bill, we have rolled back our millage rate the past 2 years at a rate that well exceeded the rate of reassessment growth, okay? The cities and the schools will go through that same type of process. They've not gone through it yet, but I've talked to a number, particularly the school system, and I think they sent out a note yesterday. Most of them have a July to July type fiscal year and are going through budget processes and that sort of thing right now. And making it happen next year. We need to get caps in place. I'll come back to that. There's not a mechanism under state law and the Constitution of the state of Georgia to get a cap in place in that fashion this year.
Proposition 13.
Okay, well, all right, let's just come back. I just want everybody to realize that at some point in time, when the next legislative session, we all need to have a strong voice about property tax reform, caps, and exemptions on school taxes for senior citizens. Okay? It's time for it, and it needs to happen. Right now, though, that's not the issue that is at hand, but that is an issue that we all need to come back to and rally around and get done. All right. Now, we're going to talk about assessments, because I know this is why you're here. As you may be aware, Chairman Eves and I called upon and asked the Board of Assessors to rescind the current notice of assessments and go back and do a review, because we were not comfortable with the emails, the calls, and the number of individual situations which were brought to us which cast doubt on the credibility and quality of the assessments. It is designed by state law to be an arm's length process. They have certain tests which they have to meet to be in compliance with state law, to be within an acceptable range of value, and there are certain tests of uniformity that they have to meet. The state will test their digest to see if they meet those tests, and if they do not meet those tests, the county is subject to fine, and also local government is subject to a reduction in potential tax revenue coming from the public utility sources. Correct, Mr. Robinson? All right, all right. That's their principal role. Board of Commissioners. I'm part of the Board of Commissioners. There are 7 of us, okay? Our principal role in this process is to provide them with the funding that's necessary. We approve their contracts. We also work through our county management staff to provide them with support from other departments that they may need assistance from. There is a tax commissioner, probably not somebody that you consider probably to be a friend of yours. He's elected by Fulton County citizens, though, okay? The tax commissioner does not have a role in the setting of the assessment of the value of your property. The basic role that the tax collector has, or tax commissioner has, is to bill your taxes and collect your taxes. They will collect they're an instrument of Fulton, he's a Fulton County tax commissioner, but by contract, he will also collect taxes often for generally for all the schools and for many cities. That's his principal role in the process. Once the Board of Assessors develops that initial digest and approves it, the assessment notices, which are why you're here tonight, are sent to you all, advising you of what the value is assigned to your property, okay? Let's talk about the notice of assessment, what it is and what it isn't. It's not a tax bill, okay? It's not a tax bill. It will show your assessed value, but on that statement, it will also give you an estimated tax billing if the millage rates that are set by the individual cities, individual school board, and county government would remain the same as what they were the prior year. So I just wanted, the key point of distinction there is those millage rates are the prior year millage rates. Those have not been voted on or approved by county government, local, or the local government, schools, or cities. That's it. That is an element of your tax bill that is yet to be determined, okay? So I just want to make that clear. And those individual bodies set them. County government does not set it for the schools. They don't set it for the cities. School board sets the school millage rate. City council set the city council millage rate. Board of Commissioners sets the county government millage rate. Roughly speaking, the apportionment of your taxes, roughly about 15% or so go to most cities. About 25% or so goes to county government, and the residual, the largest part, tends to go to the schools. Those won't be the same for everybody, but that's sort of a rough generality for what that often works out to be. Okay. You all are here because you saw significant changes in your 2017 tax assessment. Assessment notice. All right, let's talk about a backdrop as to why and some numbers associated with them. So you can just wrap some of your arms around this. I told you about what state law requires in terms of the tests that are required. The state of Georgia provided some initial results back to us, back to the tax assessor's office for our 2016 tax digest. And that revealed that we appeared to be underassessed by nearly about 12% or so? Is that a fair statement? About 11 to 12%, okay. And based upon the requirements of state law, and they audit it, let me just ask, you'll just hit that real quick. Is it just an audit process that they go through each year?
Yes, they would take a sample, sorry. They would take a sample size. Can you hear me now? No. Yes, they would take a sample size of all sales, and they would judge the sales and what we had those properties valued at. Still can't hear? Okay. Better? Yes. Okay. They would take a sample of all sales that have occurred, and they would put that in one column, and they would take the value we had on those parcels, and they would judge whether we were within 90 to 110% of that sample size. For 2016, the preliminary results show that we were at 79.6% of fair market value, based on the sample of sales that they selected.